been a little bit stressful because I was sitting here outside in my car, waiting basically until they opened, and just on my phone, and then I just all of a sudden, where's my bag? Where's my equipment for the stream? And of course, didn't have it, so I had to take a quick drive downtown to my home, and this is kind of traffic hour just before 4, so yes, sorry for being late. I'm just gonna check if you're okay. Yes, we're perfectly okay. Ja, tímast inn. Oh, yeah. So we're here at Eimverk Distillery. They are the first whiskey producers of Iceland.
First and only.
First and only? Okay, I thought there was another one. You're kind of dwarfing me here, but yeah, we're gonna find out all about them. We're gonna taste something. I have a little bit of a G&T here, but they have a nice collection of alcohol. I'm gonna show you to you real quick before we start kind of the tour. So could you tell us
yes,
what's here on the right?
Maybe it's better to start this direction.
Start to the left.
Yes.
Okay.
That's how we're going to do the tasting.
Hi, Emma, Bernadette.
Alright, so this is the standard gin, pot distilled, small batch that you're experiencing right now with gin and tonic, as a gin and tonic. This is the same.
So let's take it a little bit slower.
Oh,
so this is Vor.
Yes,
so that's
Vor.
spring.
Yeah.
Icelandic barley, wild juniper berries, crystal clear water. Yeah, we're probably gonna talk about that on the tour, but let's just Then
right. So this is the barrel aged version of said Vor gin.
Okay, barrel aged.
This is the Navy strength, slow style gin. The Icelandic brennivín called Víti.
Víti, hell.
Then the young malt, Flóki young malt, and the Flóki single malt whiskey, and the 3 whiskey finishes version of that said single malt whiskey: the sherry cask finish, the birch finish, and the beer barrel finish. And then at the end we have the smoke version of respectively the young malt and the single malt whiskey of the Flóki, but sheep dung smoked.
Sheep dung smoked. I'm excited to check out that sheep dung smoked whiskey. Sounds nice.
Yes.
Yes, very nice label design, Alexa. I totally agree with you there.
Thank you.
They're using this signature Ægishjálmur, or the helm of Ave.
Well, are you talking about the center logo?
Yes.
It's very visible, actually.
Yes, very visible. It's the same logo as mine. I'm a little bit I have a brain freeze going on because I was driving like crazy over here.
Traffic does.
Sorry for that. I'm gonna focus again, and sorry guys, I'm just a little bit off, but we'll get there. Is the sound okay? Guys, can you confirm with me that the sound is okay? Manuel, will I drink them all? I hope not. Hopefully not.
You probably would. Alright. Exciting. Let's go.
This is very smooth.
Thank you. Only gin and tonic. That's what you need if you have good liquor. You need only gin and tonic, not a half lime. If you need to squeeze a half a lime into your drink to make it drinkable, then you might want to get better liquor.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So you do distillery tours like for travelers, right?
Yes. So it's funny how it actually started. In about 2016, we were just actually the whole operation was in this room and the next one next door. Now we're kind of conquering the entire place. And it was a summer day, and we just started getting people, tourists, walking in, demanding distillery tours. You know, can we look around? And it was kind of weird at the beginning. But of course, then
it's quite remarkable because we're in the industrial
yes.
area in one of the suburb towns of Reykjavik. So you don't really walk. You have to take a taxi or drive here properly. So
well, they found us on Google Maps. So
yeah, so they just
and you know in Reykjavik everything is 10 minutes away from you. not more.
Yes.
So they kind of just started wandering in and wanted a tour, so we just like, okay, sure, grabbed some bottles on a trolley wheel and like, so here's the distilling unit, here's where we do the mashing, and so that's a tour, I guess. And then it just kind of steamrolled and started developing, and now I'm here, and I probably walked 15,000 people through this facility, and this entire room is designated for only these kind of guests and tours and events, and it's not just regular tours, you know, people ordering off our website. You know, we're working with other activities in Reykjavik, like people come from motorbiking or whale washing, and then they come here afterwards, and we can put it together, and it's a fun activity to bundle together with all the other companies.
So like a combo tour.
Yes, yes, sure.
I'm just worried about the sound. So do you hear us okay? Can you confirm that to me, so that you're hearing us okay? Yes, a little.
Close the door.
Yes, maybe that would be
Yes.
a great because there's a little bit of a.
Trap noise.
I'm simply in aid that I got the sign wrong, because I have talked about it earlier that this is the way I. But yeah, maybe it is what it is.
It is what it is. And also,
So it's like a combo tour with.
not only that, I was getting to more exciting things like also stag parties over the summertime. That is extremely popular. So many Icelanders come over with the stag parties, and once like I don't know, it's not part of the wedding, but something connected to a wedding. We had some people over here, some guests who wanted some special whiskey, and then went back to the ceremony. Oh, not ceremony, the official ceremony, but the party of the wedding.
Mm-hmm.
So, in relation to so many things, we've had this tour, and not only at this place as well. I often, you know, I can just take these bottles, some glasses, and throw up a distillery or whiskey tasting at any spot. Actually,
Cool.
so
Sounds good. So you can
really flexible.
Yeah, transportable
Whiskey tasting.
tour. Yeah,
Yes.
beautiful. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Anybody whiskey lovers out there? I'm not a big whiskey fan. I'm more of a I like cognac a little bit better, but
Maybe that'll change.
yeah, maybe that'll change because well, when I was growing up, you know, the whiskey that was going on was not very, you know, Jack Daniels and basic Jack Daniels and Coke and stuff like that, and yeah, I was not a big fan. So hangovers are horrible. So yeah. So maybe I just need to adapt to it and adjust to the different times.
Relive this whiskey thing.
Yes.
Should I take over now? And,
Yep.
And okay. So the blueprint of how this is going to go down. We're just going to start by telling a little bit of a history story. For the story of this company, which is the entire Icelandic whiskey history. It's not a long one. It's about 10 years or so. Just going to go over the timeline, tell you when the products came out, anything important, maybe reviews and stuff like that.
Sorry, I'm gonna put them. Yeah, there's a little because you have a bass voice to you, so
Right.
so when we just have the phone, it's a little bit trickier. As I said, so I'm gonna check if we can switch to the.
I can try to speak higher pitch.
Yes. So guys, this is better, right? A little bit better sound now. Sounds good. I'm just gonna check. Mic on, yes, everything perfect. Okay, now we have a mic, so I think it's a little bit better. So I'm good just on. We just have to. Yeah. You can.
We'll pass it around.
You can hold it, and just don't have it really close to you. Just
Right.
just relax with it. Just have it like.
Within the vicinity.
Yes.
All right.
Perfect.
All right. So everybody hears me well right now?
Okay, better, right? Yes. One thing, we got a question, can people order online?
Yes, they can. There's a couple of websites you can order online. It's best though as of now because things are a little bit shady over the COVID pandemic and all that. if you want to order any of these, you can send an email at order@eimverk.com. You can find it on the website as well. And then you can state where you're from or where you're located, and we can advise you, you know, if there's a retailer close by, or we'll just help you out. So order@eimverk.com.
We'll post the link also later on.
Yes.
But, no problem. If you have to pour something, you'll just hand me the mic and we can.
Absolutely.
We can, I think, we can also just put the mic here.
Yeah, maybe we can just.
And so you don't have to worry about. It's like.
What if you open the bottle and like clam it onto the? Because it's sanitizing anyways.
Yeah, perfect,
all right.
perfect.
This works.
Yes.
Being held up by the sherry cask Flóki. We'll get to that later on. But I think it's, as Valur stated in his post, he said he's gonna, you know, your friend in Reykjavik is gonna get tipsy in this. So I think we should do the, you know, start with the tasting right away. Just the same things, two things at once.
Just tiny
amounts. All right. I kind of eyeball it every time, and maybe I pour a little too much. But here's a discard glass. Don't afraid to use that because it's a tasting, and we'll have to get through some other tastings.
So this is the young malt, right?
Yes, this is the young malt.
So 47% ABV.
Yep, everything on this table except for, everything except the Navy strength is 47, and I'll explain that while we're inside better why it's 47, and what the thought process and what's around that. But yes, this is the young malt whiskey, and the Flóki young malt and the Vor standard that we're trying with tonic. These were the first products to come out in 2014. We were officially, well, we started out in 2009, and in 2014 the first products came out. Vor and young malt, the brennivín, came out 2015. So a little bit to the history, what we did with the Vor.
So you started 2009. Mm-hmm. The first batch was 2014. So 5 years before it's
late
really.
2013, beginning 2014. There were some rough batches in the beginning.
So it was like they were trying different things out before they kind of opened up the proper distillery. So they were kind of like bootlegging, maybe.
Well, not directly bootlegging. I mean, we've always. Strictly for the record, we've always been with all of our papers 100%, since you used that term. But yes, I mean, in every startup company, there's like really fun adventure in the beginning, and there's so many new things to learn and all that. And well, the family who owns and runs this company has always been distilling, making spirits and such. And to go straight, you know.
So what spirits did they do before this?
Well, just a regular moonshine.
Yeah, moonshine.
Which you probably did as well, Valur, be honest. And kind of every other, you know, person in history, back, it's always been something, you know, some grandpa in the basement with his boiling stuff.
It was a proper thing, and you know, there was a proper alcohol ban here in Iceland from 1915 to 1935. So similar thing like in the States. All alcohol was banned, so of course bootlegging took off like crazy, moonshine everywhere, and so yeah, I think if people didn't know it by then how to make moonshine, that was probably the catalyst that made sure that most everybody could have access to moonshine or bootleg. So that's another story. But we are not. So what can you tell me what's a young malt? What's the
young malt? Kind of self-described in the name of it, because it's young malt. These are all malts, but this one is young. And before this live stream went on, we talked a little bit about the rules of making whiskey. So almost everywhere in the world, like in the European Union, you can't legally call anything whiskey unless it's been aged on a barrel for at least 3 years. So this is 2 years on a brand new barrel. So you can see the color is a little bit darker than the one of the 3-year-old, which is, oops, sorry, this is the, no, it's the single malt.
It's called young malt until it reaches the age of 3, then it turns into whiskey.
Yeah, so to speak.
I'm learning, guys.
I hope more people are learning. Maybe everybody's having, because your message was such a strong message. Getting tipsy.
So I'm just checking out because.
Yeah, Let's see how everybody's
Already
going.
tipsy. Everybody okay? So, okay, everybody is okay. Sound is okay. I'm just sorry. I was so late that I'm a little bit stressed with the technical aspect. Can you have a thumbs up that you're Scout, Vesna, and Michelle, please speak about the label's design. It's a fantastic draw to this distillery, Michelle. That I totally agree with you. We talk about that. What's Moonshine called still? Let's talk about that. And yeah, I'll grab that. All is good, Jolly. That's good.
All right.
That's your Jolly.
Well, I want to answer Michelle because thank you very much for noticing the label and complimenting it. I mean, it should be looking all right since we went through about 800 concepts. So it was a long journey. We used a website called 99designs.com, and probably all freelancers and designers have heard about it. It's basically where freelance designers can come together and you know, take. Well, it kind of worked like this. We just put out a CV, like a descriptional note on how we want the logo to kind of look like, what we want it to represent. We are being careful not to say too much because we want, you know, intuitive thinking on the other side, on the other end. So on the website, you know, people see this description, and you know, it's kind of a competition. It's a cash prize for the best logo. And yes, this is what I was talking about. This works.
Proper thing.
Yes, exactly. Pin it on a bottle. So they're all listening through a bottle of Flóki right now. And yes, on the website, then we got about 100 designers competing to make the best perfect logo for Flóki. So many ideas about ships in the wind and the sea, but we wanted more like a just standard logo, and with this, we didn't kind of know what we wanted in the beginning.
It reminds me a little bit of our national sickle, like skjaldarmerkið.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
So you know,
yeah,
it's like a dragon from that, or the.
Absolutely. The reasons why we're looking at the wall, which you might not see, is because it's huge here on the wall. So, well, they'll see it later, maybe.
Yeah, let's check.
We'll see it while we stand up and go. And yes, so we narrowed it down to 50 designers, down to 10, down to 5. The last 5 were doing brilliant logos, so we couldn't decide. But then one of them made this, and we were like, yes, that one, absolutely. This is beautiful. I mean, hardcore, this look. Doesn't it look good?
It's very cool.
We've had 3 emails from guests visiting Iceland and seeing this bottle somewhere, maybe coming to this tour or seeing it downtown, and then having it tattooed here on their shoulder, actually.
Okay, cool.
So there are at least 3 people we know about walking around with the logo on it.
So what's the lettering, the runes? What does it say?
The runes in the circle?
Yes.
In the circle we have written in runes in Icelandic, kind of an ancient Icelandic. Hver vegur að heiman vegurinn heim. Which means each road from home is the road to home. So what we're doing is, well, this is obviously in regards to Flóki. Not gonna talk about it in terms of that TV show Vikings, which everybody always like, oh, like from the Vikings. But yeah, sure, that's the same character, but that show is not really accurate.
It's not historically
yes,
accurate. But,
exactly. But he sailed from Norway in the year 874 out to the open sea. First man to deliberately sail to Iceland to settle. There were people here before, but nobody stopped and settled, so he is the first settler of Iceland. Also the guy who named Iceland Iceland. So in terms the first Iceland...
It's disputable if he settled it, because he stayed here, and
for 4 years. Yeah.
he really didn't like. It was too cold for him.
well, that's not the entire story. A lot of people know that bit, but there's more to it. Sure, he stayed for 4 years and then left because his cattle died, and I mean he was in danger of not surviving. And yes, didn't like it or whatever. But
he didn't prepare for the long winters, guys.
Yes.
So when he thought Iceland was a beautiful country when he came to it, but when the long winters arrived, he was kind of like fed up with it, and that's why he called it Iceland.
Yeah.
So that's like reverse marketing, like Greenland, yes, right, and Iceland. So yeah.
Somebody lonely in Greenland wants company, and reverse in Iceland. But to add to that story, he went away, sure, but he did come back and died in Iceland, lived the remainings of his days here in Iceland. So he actually came here to live, lived for 4 years, went away, came back, and lived the rest of his life. So, and also, yeah, that's he named Iceland Iceland. There's a lot of different aspects of why he named it.
But I like the aspect of the, you know, every road that leads from home gets you back home, or
it's a phrasing or sentence or terminology used in many old scriptures in Iceland, which refers to the time where you actually had to follow the seasons. You know,
there's some song with these lyrics, right?
Oh yeah, definitely. I've had some old Icelanders here who just started singing, and I was like, what? And then the line came, and I was like, holy shit. You know, that they're singing. Okay, that is from a song.
I'm not going to sing for you today, guys, unless I get really tipsy.
Next time we'll have the song ready. Yeah, that's the logo, and obviously, to finalize on the logo, you see the 3 ravens. He was known as Raven Flóki. He was a traveler and known for using ravens in his expeditions. Hence the name Raven Flóki, or Hrafnaflóki in Icelandic. And on his journey from Norway to Iceland, he took 3 ravens with him. First one didn't find anything, the second one flew back to the Faroe Islands or something, and the third one flew to Iceland. Because ravens, like a lot of other birds, are land birds, and when you let them loose in the middle of the ocean, they're way out of their natural environment. So according to their instinct, they'll fly up into the air, look around, and if they see land in the great distance, they'll take a straight course to it. So yeah, kind of blackbird makes sense in that case, you know, white sky and seeing where it heads. Yeah. So no Google Maps, and so ravens.
And of course, ravens were really intellectual
birds.
They are.
Absolutely.
So,
I mean, have you seen the water bottle test? That's amazing for a bird.
Yes. We'll have to put a link to that also.
Yes, the water bottle test.
Just checking if everything's okay.
Yes, let's check it.
If we have any questions. So what's moonshine?
Moonshine.
Yeah.
Well, moonshine is a rough spirit made from core ingredients. Most often, well, the terminology of moonshine is made from, comes from the States. You have this corn, you're just doing the rough distillation, and you're not doing any real cuts to make, you know, the best of the heart, which I'll explain while we're inside. You're kind of just getting most of the spirit roughly made, you know, to get the most out of it. Mm-hmm. So there's not a lot of, well, I really can't find the best word for it. There's not a lot of finesse in making moonshine compared to whiskeys and other spirits.
Well, some moonshine is actually great as a substitute for vodka, but if it's distilled enough and maybe twice distilled or goes 3 times or 2 times through the process to make it as clear as possible.
Definitely.
So I've had great moonshine on the 4-day festival called Þjóðhátíð in Westman Island. So yeah.
I've had great moonshine too.
Yes.
I've had terrible moonshine too. That's probably the biggest range from horrible to greatness of any core or liquid I've tried.
Yeah, so. That's for sure. Yes, some of it is totally terrible.
Absolutely. So were there any other questions when you checked?
No, Jill said I was funny when I was tipsy, but
oh really?
That's another story. But
we'll work better on that, Jill.
Julie, sorry.
Find this funny. The next scene is going to be hilarious. No, I'm kidding.
So why whiskey? Were the owners big fans of whiskey, or just why?
Well, there's never has been an Icelandic whiskey. I'm not saying that's the only reason, but we have a lot of barley in Iceland. Really a lot of barley. And the strain of barley we use here in Iceland and grows in Iceland, flourishes. It's one of which that was brought here in the early 13th century. It really grew, flourished, diminished, and now it's kind of growing back again. And
well, there was not a lot of barley in Iceland for centuries. You know, there's a reason why we didn't have any beer here in Iceland. We just had here brennivín.
That's what I'm saying. It was brought, and then it's flourished, and then it's diminished. I mean, there is kind of a wavelength version of, I don't want to say global warming, but this goes really like seasons in terms of decades. And
yeah, there was a mini ice age here from around 13th, 14th century that really made it impossible to grow barley here. So
exactly.
Go climate change. We are finally getting warmer here again. So barley, they are making barley and growing barley fields more. So are you getting the barley, where are you getting it from?
We're getting it mostly from our own farm, which is on the south coast of Iceland, close to Hella. 2 other farms as well, but it's on the south shore of Iceland. This is the strain of barley.
So are the farmers that are the owners of the, or
Well,
former farmers?
The
or
family, the CEO, my boss, his father is doing a lot of the farming, and his brother, which also works here, and
So this was eventually a byproduct of being a farmer. They were growing barley, and then they decided to, why not?
Sure. I mean,
sorry for the questions. I'm putting you on the spot
do,
here.
But
So,
it kind of goes like this. I mean, this is beautiful imagery, if you will imagine, of 3 brothers and their fathers looking at a field of barley, drinking imported whiskey. You know, there's something wrong with that picture, right? Why they're drinking imported whiskey, talking about whiskey, where it's from, and all that? Why isn't there an Icelandic whiskey? So, being the adventurers that they are and intellectuals, they just went into trying it, and it really got a rough start, of course, like any other making new products would, but it's such a new field, right? Making Icelandic whiskey, so it's exciting, and we just went full force into it, and in 3 years we had something that we were really happy with, and made, excuse the terminology, but made from scratch. I mean, even like you'll see when we go inside, even the distilling units made from old milking containers that we repurposed into distillation units.
Milking containers, okay.
Yeah, really good rust-free milk containers. You'll see one inside.
Beautiful, but the casks, they must be imported. That's kind of one of the key things about making whiskey,
absolutely. Right? Everything here, all the barley, the botanicals and herbs and everything, it's all 100% Icelandic. There's no question, no debate about where the barrels should come from. I mean, they can't come from Iceland because, have you seen a lot of oak trees driving around? No, exactly. So barely any. So we do get them from Scotland, and there they have these masterful, many generations of brilliant coopers, master barrel makers, and we get the barrels from them. The barrels are New American white oak, and a little trivia, whiskey barrels are always charred on the inside. This means they're burned. Helps to conceal them and start the breathing and aging process properly. Ours is slightly above medium charred, and
so medium charred, is there a difference between totally charred, so it's depending on the taste?
I mean, we could talk about barrels for hours, and I've done so. I mean, you can get into how much they're charred, what type of fire they're burning to char them, how they're put together, what type of wood, and when you get into the wood discussion as well, I mean, one tree got more sun than the other got more water from the spring next door or spring close by, and one grew in the thinner atmosphere and the one grew in the... All this, every bit of information you can gather about barrels, it really has an impact on the flavor and outcome of your whiskey.
Some people, I remember I did a whiskey tour in Scotland, and they were telling that you would get a hint of vanilla from the casks, which I have a difficulty processing. But
what do you feel? Let's talk about the tasting. Let's try to do both here at the same time. What do you feel when you're trying the young malt, which is a first fill on a virgin cask, by the way? So it gets a lot of impact from the barrel. Sugar, vanilla. 2 years brings the vanilla. Sugar brings from the first contact of the surface area.
Yeah, I can really taste a little bit of vanilla, and I think it's pretty smooth compared to be a young malt. I'm not a big whiskey expert, like I said. I'm not at all an expert, but it's not rough. I thought it would be rougher.
And for a 47%, imagine that, so smooth. It has to do with actually the reason why it is 47%. We have it at that rate because when we're using the barley, we use higher amounts of it because Icelandic barley tends to be smaller than, let's say, our neighbors from Sweden. Swedish barley is bigger. So when we have this lack of sugar, because of the smallness of it, we use more to make up for that lack. But at the same time, in ratio, the Icelandic barley has a lot of oils and spices that you really want. They're the good kinds. So we take advantage of this whole scenario, and at the end, don't chill filter, we don't remove the oils, we keep them at higher percents because it can be enjoyed at that rate because of those delicious smoothening, mellowing out oils, as well as the spices. And you know, it's also called in marketing terms, which is actually my job at this company, leaving the choice in the hands of the consumer. Because you can always have it at 47 and enjoy it that way, or, which is a totally normal phenomenon in whiskey tasting, put a few drops of water into it, opens up the flavor, lowers the impact of alcohol, of course.
Can you
Yeah,
do it for me?
definitely. And you know, each and everyone can enjoy it and find their respective way to enjoy their glass of whiskey.
But it's for me as a, you know, I don't fully understand this, like when you're making, when you're mixing into water, into alcohol, you feel like you're making a little bit like less strong and less, but you were telling me that it brings out the flavors, it kind of opens up.
Absolutely. So no links in the description, just take my word on this. Well, sure, if you want to Google it, but water molecules, they tend to, with impacted with high spirits of alcohol, you know, bind them and make them, I'm not a chemist, but more receptible to the taste bud flavors in your tongue and stuff like that.
Okay.
And whoever wants to go deeper into that, just please Google it, because I know I just probably said something stupid right there, but it's kind of like that. Yeah.
Something in that area.
Yeah.
So let's see if we have any questions. When I move
Yes.
this down,
Yeah, just move it. It's constantly in the way.
So where can you find info for tasting tours? It's on eimverk.is.
Well, www.flókiwhisky.is/tours. Yeah. That link will be in the description.
Yeah, we'll leave a link. We have friends. Hi, Paul. Hi,
Hi, what up?
John. John knows his whiskey, obviously. Do you make peated whiskey? B is asking.
Oh, no. Well, even though Iceland had some peat, kind of have to dig it up from the ground, and this being volcanic from the middle of the ocean island, we don't have as much peat as we do other fuel sources, which is sheep dung. So, and that's also not just why we're doing it, because this actually is by tradition.
I'm excited about this sheep dung. That's kind of one of the key ingredients for our sheep dung smoked.
Absolutely.
Lamb, for example. That's like a
sheep dung smoked lamb, sheep dung smoked salmon, fish, all sorts.
Yeah.
That's our tradition. As Icelanders, we've been using this to smoke our meat and fish to keep a reserve, because that's essential for survival. And we just wanted to make our whiskey as traditional. So yeah. That's how we do it.
We didn't have a lot of firewood, of course, in Iceland. We barely wiped out the trees here in a couple of 100 years.
Apparently we had, but we wiped out the forests.
Yeah. 1/4 of the country was covered in trees, but we barely came here and just needed for firewood and houses and erosion caused by the livestock that was grazing on the. So we wiped out trees 200 years, and after that we didn't have a lot of firewood, so we used the dried sheep dung for smoking, like I said earlier, smoking lamb, salmon, and all kinds of stuff to preserve food and to make it taste better.
Yeah, exactly.
But this, sheep dung, dried sheep dung, this is basically grass, because it's dried to the point that it's just basically firewood.
Yeah, that's true.
Gives a hint of flavor, but we are not rubbing the sheep dung on the food or something like that, or nothing in that area. Guys, don't get us wrong.
No. We have an incineration unit where we put the sheep dung inside, and then we harvest the barley in from the fields. We put it in a container above it, fuel up the incineration unit, burn the sheep dung, fuel the smoke through the barley. It's a drying method as well, and then the barley becomes smoky aromat. And then it just comes here packaged, just like the normal non-smoked barley. Goes the same process inside, in which I'm about to show you, and at the end stage, or when it's been double distilled, ready to be put on a barrel, it has smoky essences to it. The smokiness from the barley follows through the entire process, and that's how I make it. No shortcuts. genuine.
Sounds good. Sounds good. So they started the 2014, 2013. That was the first Flóki.
Right.
And then you started to do some experiments. I know Víti and Vor. That's you know, how many years have they been produced?
This is since 2015, and before I get into this one, I kind of wanna talk about awards a little bit. Not that it's important for the product description or anything like that, but it kind of put us on the map to begin with this one. It doesn't have the gold sticker here, but because it's a tasting bottle. But we shipped it out to a competition in 2014, our first gin, and it was the World Spirit Competition in San Francisco, where we won double gold, which is not just regular gold, but double. What it means, it's a unanimous decision with the judges panel, giving it the highest grade. So that's also the reason why we kind of expanded on the gin family. We made the barrel-aged version, which is the same gin, just kept on a barrel. The same ones we use for making the whiskey for 2 months. Here you can see the 2 months versus 3 years of aging in the color. Mellows it out, gives it a completely different character. The Navy strength version, which is 57%, and then the slow style gin, made from Icelandic blueberries. And in 2015...
That sounds pretty good. Blueberry gin,
yeah.
right?
Slow style.
Slow style.
Yeah. So slow gin is where you have a gin made from sloes, which are plums actually. It's in the plum family. It's often miscontributed as berries, but it's in the plum family, and it's a popular type of gin, mostly in the UK and from that area. And we decided we want to try one of our, make one of our gins in that direction. But we don't have any plums. We do have a lot of blueberries. So we call it slow style, in the same style as slow gin, but with Icelandic ingredients, of course.
Oh, perfect. So you're using blueberries,
yes,
bilberries and crowberries together to make this.
Yeah, blueberries, uniberries, and crowberries. Yes.
Beautiful.
Yeah, and getting back to, because you started talking about the brennivín, we shipped this to the same competition. You later won gold. Really happy with that. And this is the same product, by the way, just a pocket-sized version for your volcano hike.
Would not recommend that to drink alone. You have to walk back, and it's a 1.5 hour walk back, and it's tricky when you're.
Just take it with you to take a picture with it in the background. So,
yeah.
Because it's called Víti,
yeah.
right?
Hell. Víti hell. So this went into a competition. This arrived when? 2015 also? Or?
14.
14, okay.
Yes.
So you came with both Flóki and the gin at the same time.
Yeah.
And,
sorry.
And this won the competition when? When did it? Do you remember? Was it a couple of years back?
2014.
2014. It won the competition.
It was the same year. I mean, we just finished the label kind of 2 weeks before
the
shipping out the bottles, and then we got a phone call telling us when they'll go.
I've heard a lot about this gin, and I've tried it a couple of times, but trying it now, and it's just excellent. Very smooth and
really floral.
Yeah, floral and just. And as he said earlier, didn't have to put any lime or anything into it, so it's perfect.
So I say, before we get into the Flóki, we kind of covered this, and I want to stay on schedule. You said this is what hour or something?
Roughly, but
Roughly.
It just depends on your time. So.
I have enough time. I just don't want to, make them frustrated with.
Bore them.
Bore them.
Well, I think if they have to leave, they just leave, and that's okay. They can pick.
But they can't leave now because we're about to walk in.
Yeah, of course. But
I say we walk in and then we take the entire line of Flókis.
Yeah, perfect.
Sounds good with you?
Sounds good.
All right.
Let's just.
Then we're so there's a lot of noise inside, so we'll kind of just have to pass this between us.
Yes.
It's, and one more thing. You kind of have to, for Jill, right? Refill your.
Cloudberries, Julie? No. Crowberries.
Crowberries.
Like the crow, the bird.
Half the size of a blueberry, bittersweet tasting more, grows in the colder climate area of the world. Canada, Greenland, Iceland, Finland, Norway, these places. So I say this, I'll hold your glass while you're holding these two things, and now we'll go inside the distillery.
Perfect. So I just want to show you around here a little bit. People are saying that they are not bored, so that's good for us.
Wonderful.
We are not boring them, at least not yet. maybe when we get blurry in our... We've been already going on for 40 minutes. What? Right? Doesn't feel like it. And so that's Flóki Whisky. And yes. So let's just head out, and then I think it's proper that you...
I hold this?
Yes.
All right. So then we'll make
I just need to...
Oh yeah, our distiller, Craig, he makes whiskey coffee. He roasts this out of our sheepdog smoked whiskey, actually.
So whiskey coffee sounds
Yes.
good. This is something that I have to try out sometime.
Absolutely, it's wonderful.
And just to give you a... You can probably order these kind of T-shirts and hoodies from the guys if you want.
Yeah. All right, so I'll take this. Here's your glass.
Alex is saying, take as long as you need. We're with you in spirit.
I love spirit puns. Oh man, you should wait until we get into the sheepdog smoked one. That's the time of the puns. So let's start there. Just as a regular tour.
You can keep it just below here. You don't have to have it.
Oh right. So this is one of the bags. This is where we get our barley. This is where the entire thing starts. Let's see. See this?
So this is barley from the farm, and the
Yes.
next farmers from the family.
Absolutely. This is where from the south coast of Iceland where it all starts. Gets from harvested from the ground there, brought here in these packages. I've talked a little bit about the barley, so I'm not going to do that right now. Just going to go between stations, as I like to call it, step by step, how it goes from this bag of barley to a glass of whiskey. So the first thing we do is we take the barley, throw it through the milling unit, which breaks it down into the dust-like feature like this. And these 4 containers is these 13 containers, which there usually are about 400 kilos, which is one batch that we go through the entire process with. If you look over there next to the big window, there's our big mashing tank. There we throw the barley in with 1.5 ton of water, heat it up, stir it.
Is that the milking?
No, well, actually it is one of those tanks that we... It's custom made by us, actually, so yeah.
Okay.
Here we do the mashing, and what the mashing process is in this entire operation is basically just making food for the yeast. So we're making the sugar contents of the barley open itself up and become more vulnerable for the later on consumption by the yeast. So when that time is up and we have a lot of food for the yeast, the big mash, we move it into one of these steel containers. Now these are fermentation tanks. This one is hot because it's been recently been filled with mash, and then the yeast has been added. And like you probably know, yeast is a living organism, so it will start to consume the sugar contents of the barley, multiply itself, and create 2 major byproducts, in which are, the CO2 rising to the surface and alcohol, like somebody probably said, right?
So the basic thing is that you have the mash, and you put the yeast basically eats the mash and shits out alcohol.
Yes, I knew somebody would say that.
Yeah.
Either shits or farts out. Yes. But that is, there's always one joker in the crowd, that really points this out. So.
Well, this was mine.
Oh, it was yours.
Sorry.
No, it's fine, please.
Paul, how far is this distillery from Reykjavik? It's just like 10-minute drive.
10-minute drive in a cab, or you can take this bus and walk for 4 minutes from the bus stop, or even one of those scooters. They're all around now. Yeah. Wouldn't recommend them on the way back though. So the good thing about Reykjavik is that everything is 10 minutes away, so you don't have to. It's not far away.
Except when you're at 4 o'clock and you're trying to get equipment, then there's a lot of cars in your...
When you have to go back and forth through traffic, when you're already at the spot, then you're... Yes. So, when the the fermentation is done, we have 5.5% beer. That's what it is technically, it's beer. Making whiskey is just distilling beer, actually. We move it over to one of those distilling units. These are also called strip stills, and Valur, this is what I was talking about earlier. These are custom made by us. We've perfected every step of the way even to the core of making the units as we would like them to work. So
why is that? Because usually when distilleries they just buy like some kind of equipment from.
Well, you could do that. You could buy the standard equipment. You could buy a Scottish distiller to teach you how to make whiskey. But then you would probably be making Scotch in Iceland. We just want to go through the entire thing, and we want to be, as
organic as possible.
Yes, kind of, because it's a completely new strain of barley being used in whiskey making, not used anywhere else in the world for whiskey making, which means you kind of have to just learn each and every step because it revolves around the core ingredient.
So the barley is so unique that they thought that they would need proper gear that would be adjusted to that.
And it's not just like that because this barley is unique, but it is. But in every distillery you would always have to round. I mean, I'm telling this like we're just moving between tanks and pressing on and off, but it's more like a laboratory. There's endless measurements, calculations, and adjustments.
There was a person calling it the Breaking Bad.
Yes, if you wanted 99% or whatever it was. Absolutely. So it is like that. Everything has to be perfected around the core ingredient because that's just simply what it is. It's just barley and water going through a series of machines. And you can make it so wrong, you could make it so right. So 3 years is not a long time. Everything in this business is not a long time. You should see our Excel sheets. I mean, this is in generations almost. So anyways, keeping on track. These units, because they make the first distilling, also known as strip stills. So they create what's called low wine. And in our case, we go from, remember, 5.5% beer to 23.5% low wine. And if you follow me a little bit, because this cord, there it will go up. It's basically a giant boiler with a copper element, a computer for timing and measurements, and then it distills and goes through there. And then when we collect the low wine, we have about 300 liters of it. We move that into this unit. Now this is the second distillation. This one we bought in. This is a really serious step of the process. This is also where we do the cuts. So we fill this up with low wine. The machine starts. And the things that vaporizes first are the lightest components, lightest chemicals. This is also known as head. It's really hot and fiery tasty. We don't want it into the finalized product. So when it vaporizes, liquefies and pours through here, the mechanical lock controlled by the computer will throw it to the left, into this container. Now, when the head is done, we get the middle piece. Now, this is what we're after. This is the heart. And this is the most important piece of the puzzle. It's the most... Well, it's the premium cut. There is actually a reason why products are called premium, because quantity is being sacrificed for quality. And it's definitely in our case, that's where we collect the hjarta, heart in Icelandic, collected in here, and it's happening right now actually. See, 25 more minutes of the heart, we have 47 liters, we'll probably end up with about 65 or so, and on average is about 68%. This is basically what will go on a barrel and become Flóki. Or in the case of making gin or brennivín, within one of these tanks, about 70% up, but all the herbs and botanicals we use for making the gin into the tanks. We let it soak there for about 4 days, and then we throw the entire thing through the machine again for a third distillation. Remember, that was the first, second in the tank with botanicals, and then the third. And I mean, everything goes in.
So the same process with both the gin and brennivín?
Actually 4 days with the gin, but just one with the brennivín, because caraway seeds, the cumin flavor, doesn't need much time to influence. And so
that's where you put on the spices, or like if you have caraway seeds?
Well, we kind of want to let it soak in it for 4 days first. And when it's been soaked,
this is a berry container.
Yeah. Rhubarb goes in there, kale goes in there, all sorts of berries, juniper berries, crowberries. 9 ingredients. We'll cover them when we get back, and then everything goes in. And because everything goes in, we'll get that infusion. flavor molecules from those botanical spirit were being infused into the core spirit via the distillation process, in which we'll get pure gin or brennivín, so that matters.
So that's why the third distillation, you're basically soaking it in, and then you take the third distillation to make it perfect.
Absolutely. Well, in terms of the gin or brennivín, in terms of the Flóki, the whiskey is just double distilled. We have the heart, and everything is made out of the heart. So you could say this is, what's being collected here right now is potentially any bottle on the table except for two of them. Can you guess which two?
Yeah, sheep smoke.
Yes, because in that case we had to smoke the barley before it goes through. See, Waller is paying attention. Is anybody else paying attention?
Yeah, they are.
Is everybody?
They're saying amazing and wow, it's so interesting.
Oh, wonderful.
Very approachable way to understand the process. So yeah, they are getting it. They are following.
All right. Well, that's good because it's kind of just the end of.
It's of course like in the States. They are, I think, 4 hours back, so it's just noon at there or 1 o'clock. So they are not as fast as we are.
Ah, okay. It's 1 o'clock. Okay.
I think it's 4 hours now. So
it's not gin and tonic time already.
It's not cocktail hour, at least for some.
Yeah.
I know some that are probably having that glass. But that's another story. But yeah, continue if you.
Oh yeah. So that's basically the process. We should do one thing. Right now, this is a window of opportunity which just normally lasts for about 1 hour or less. Do you want to try the heart straight from the distilling unit?
Yeah, of course.
I mean, you should, because we can just lift this thing and try it. I have here these. Can you hold this for a moment?
Yeah.
So, it's good to remember that, I'll just place it here, that whiskey is like this before it's barrel aged, of course. That's how it works. Color comes from the barrel.
So it's totally clear until the barrels until you leave them in the barrels. I know that you have some barrels that are really old. You're trying to go for the 12-year-old, right? That's one of the key things, right?
Definitely. One of the most popular questions always.
Yeah, for a respectable distillery, then whiskey distillery, that's the 12-year-old is kind of a
Skål. Remember, 68%, really smooth, and the earthy tones are wonderful.
Yeah, it's really earthy.
Yes.
It's surprisingly. Usually, when you have like when I've tried like this kind of distillery, these are quite clear, and these are, Moonshine is pretty well. It doesn't have a lot of flavor to it, but this is very earthy and. Yeah.
One guy asking about the Moonshine, it would definitely not be cuts to this caliber.
Yeah.
So that's one of the key differences. We're not wasting or collecting such a small amount of premium cuts when you're doing Moonshine, because you basically just want to get everybody to the party drunk.
So John is asking, do you release a cask strength whiskey, or are they always proofed down?
We often release cask strengths. We have these miniature barrels, which are about 5 liters, mostly to pre-time, of course. Bars and restaurants, hotels town will buy these, and when they buy a cask to the bar with Icelandic whiskey in it, straight from the bar.
Yeah.
So yes, to do that, we've also sold to some places export and locally cask strength just by special requests, and this is definitely something you can ask through the email orders at eimverk.com.
Okay, beautiful. So Leif Eriksson is asking 62% or 62 proof?
68.
68%.
Yes, 68%, please.
Okay, there's some kind. Okay, there's some.
Leif Eriksson, is it?
Yes. There's some kind of a connection is not good at the moment.
Well, there are a lot of machines here rolling in. It's probably the sound's not good.
No. There's a little bit of a disconnection. Maybe the Wi-Fi is breaking up because of the connection a little bit.
It's probably better in the tasting office. Should we go back there? Or?
Yeah, let's. Do you have any more like special things?
Actually, I just explained how we went from a bag in brennivín, and that was the process. Through the normal tour, if you would come here through a normal tour, it would completely be way more detailed and open for QA at all times, of course. But that was the gist of it, and normally right now I'd just like to ask if anybody has any questions about the process, and I can answer them, and if not, we can go back to the tasting room and talk more about the products.
The connection seems to have improved. Maybe I just some kind of disruption.
Right.
We are of course here in the middle of all kinds of machinery, and that doesn't help 4G. So do you have any questions for us about the process, about how it's done? John is asking, how much do you lose to the angel's share on average?
Well, this is one thing that's really good about being in Iceland. There's not really hot weather, so the angel share is about 2 or 3% annually. Opposed to, in perspective, South America is between 20 and 25, India 40%. So it's really not much.
Let's take more questions inside, because there's a little bit of interruption here.
A lot of noise from the machines, of course.
I'm just gonna walk slowly here and just show you a couple of things. The heart, this machinery here, and another. And then we're gonna walk back.
Oh wait, we can pit stop here. This is actually, and might be the only birch barrel in the world. I don't know.
Birch barrel?
Yes, we made a birch barrel. So, you know, there is R&D happening in the birch making business in Iceland.
Okay.
So yes.
For those of you who don't know, birch is a very small trees, and not the best to make a lot of things out of. Yeah. Maybe sticks, but that's.
We made our first barrel, and as you can see, it kind of leaked a lot, and but our barrel making days are not over, and it's exciting to see where we might go from this.
So yeah, so it leaks a little bit.
Yeah, that's why we all plastered it in, so it wouldn't completely dry out.
Okay.
It's an R&D project, of course.
So R&D project where they are trying to make a barrel out of birch, and as you see, it leaks a little bit, so they have put plastic around it, but they are not stopped trying. They will try it again.
Sure.
So I'm gonna grab my glasses here. My glasses, not my glasses. And here we go. So just so guys, hopefully the connection gets a little bit better. I know the phone is warming up because we have been now for about an hour, which is our usual amount, but we have to try the sheep smoked,
absolutely,
or down smoked whiskey.
Yes,
for sure. Shall we put this again here?
Yes, just clamp it on the single malt. We tried that. So, where to go from here? You've tried the Young Malt single malt. We've spoken about the logo and the story of Flóki and the story of this company and the whiskey in general in Iceland. So,
but whiskey in general in Iceland. So, just to get that clear, like I said, this is the only whiskey distillery. I think there were some guys trying.
Yeah, I mean, every year there's these 15 reports about somebody planning on making whiskey in Iceland, but there's a difference between writing a business plan and actually filling barrels. Mm-hmm. So as far as the latter, we are the only ones doing so.
Okay.
we would open welcome any competition, of course, and there's way more possibilities to make wonderful spirit products in Iceland. But as of now,
there's been like a boom of that, for the last since the tourism boom kind of happened in Iceland 2010. We have a lot of excellent distilleries opening up. But
they do tend, though, not to make spirits from the ground up.
Yes.
This is the only place who makes spirits from Icelandic barley. Everybody else imports it. So wherever you want to draw the line on what a real Icelandic distillery is, that's for each and every one to do so. But we shall not dwell on that. We shall dwell on the products. I was thinking, since we've reached the 1 hour mark and that's your average, should we go quickly over these three and just end with a bomb on the sheepdog?
How are you guys feeling? Are you okay?
Let's see. You should have an iPad,
yes,
to see the.
Yeah, but usually I'm just with the gimbal and just looking at the screen, and so people are just pretty good, I think.
All right.
John is saying that I have a bottle of that whiskey no more than 2 meters from me. John, I'm surprised it is not closer to you. You should sit on it while you're watching.
Why the 2 meters? Are you using the COVID restrictions on your bottle?
Yeah, it's a 2 meter. There's a 2 meter rule on the whiskey.
I thought that was about people, not your
well,
bottle.
John just didn't read the
right. So
instructions very well. Let's just sample.
Let's sample. So this is the sherry cask finish. Really fruity characters, and this one actually has spent the equivalent of 5 years on a barrel, because it's the single malt to begin with, 3 years from a New American White Oak, and then in addition on a Spanish sherry cask to get that sherry fruity
Spanish
flavor.
Sherry cask.
Yes.
So probably get that from Spain, right?
No, from Australia.
From
kidding. Australia.
But is that popular thing to do?
Well, in terms of double woods with whiskies, yes, that's probably the most common added feature you can do to your whiskey is to have a sherry cask version of it. We did that because we want to see how Flóki would flourish in that fruity environment, in which, in my humble opinion, went pretty well.
Yes.
And then we took 2 directions.
I have to be honest, really honest, that I one of the things about whiskey is that I feel sometimes like they are they are too strong, Billy. They're not smooth enough for me, because like more of a cognac kind of guy. But these are all so far very smooth and not like a bad ákavit or brennivín.
Thank you. That's probably due to the oils from the barley, and with our, with that, which sounded simple process inside, getting those best attributes to reveal themselves and be presentable in the flavor and the all-around character and the spirit, getting from the barley. Well, what we do say is from grain to glass. It's
a little bit surprising for me that there's such a difference between like Icelandic barley and other barleys, like that is more like oily and spices, you said?
Sure. There's oils and spices in all barley, but
yes,
it's the ratio that we can play with, and also, the good types, actually. There's difference between these strains of barley, and we're just really lucky with what we have and how we managed to process it into this wonderful spirit, New Make, which is the core spirit of all these products. So
I know there are a couple of historians that say that the islands here outside of Reykjavik called Engey, they were named after, because they were used to make barley back in time, or grain for alcohol, beer and stuff.
Yeah, what do you think? Every other road in Iceland is called what was the name? No, it's completely went out because we had so many pigs.
Yeah.
And
We had
Sørvegur, this. That's because it was a good thing. Sør is what's the beautiful word for sør?
manure or
Yeah.
dung or
Manure. I was thinking of the other.
Yeah.
Manure road, manure this. This is a complementary thing in because you could have pigs, right? And why can you have pigs? Because every square meter of barley versus square meter of grass has 8 times the calories.
Yeah.
So if you're going to have heavy cattle like that, you will really need to have the possibility in the environment to grow barley. So that's the reason for a lot of those names, actually.
Cool.
Yeah. Even though it doesn't sound that good today.
Yeah, didn't think about that connection, but because pigs kind of died out also because of the ice age that we talked about earlier. They were not brought back until the 19th century, really, in Iceland.
Yeah.
And just an honorable mention that like our Christmas dinner or Christmas Eve dinner is like glazed ham. That's like a proper. I think it's a proper Nordic and North Europe thing to have some kind of smoked or glazed ham for Christmas dinner. And
Absolutely.
but that's another story.
So many stories.
Yes, so many stories.
So what I've just handed you now, I hope you're keeping track of which is what.
Yes, I'm trying to roll them up.
So what I've just handed you now is the Birch Finish. Now, speaking of these double woods, of course we had to go with the direction of birch because that's our tree. And also, we do use birch leaves in the gins and brennivín because this tree has just so much to give. The birch leaves tends to give a lot of minty characteristics, and the birch woods introduced into the Flóki is, I mean, minty as well, but also kind of sweet. I mean, there's a sweet
Surprising,
tooth
a
into it.
minty flavor.
Yes, minty flavor from that birch. So, of course we use it.
Daniel is saying I found some Flóki here in Canada. Yeah, we'll post that. Amy is saying it's 2:15 a.m. here in Japan. Sayonara. So she got enough.
2:50.
Yeah.
A.M. Oh, okay.
A.m. So it was in the night.
Thank you for being with us, Amy. That sounds like a,
Somebody saying try their brennivín with cocoa milk, chocolate milk. What?
What?
Are you
Is that an Icelander?
No, I'm not sure, but
Cocoa milk.
he pronounced or wrote the brennivín at least correct. So yeah.
Try it with cocoa milk.
People are okay. We are not boring them.
All right.
So birch. Why birch and mint? What?
It just has that connection for some wondrous reason. And I mean.
So what's the proper way? I'm a ignorant beast in these matters. What's the proper way of smelling it? How?
Ignorant beast.
Yes.
Oh yeah. How do? Okay. Yeah, sure. I'll do this. As a disclaimer, before I explain this, I know there are trillions of videos online on YouTube of angry Scottish people saying there's one way to drink whiskey and all that, and how you should do the nosing and everything. Sure, I watched a lot of them, and I've done this so many times. What I'm just doing right now is I'm accumulating like the basic steps of how you want to go through a whiskey tasting.
So this is just simple. This is Icelandic style whiskey tasting.
Well, I wouldn't say that. I would not say that. No. If this is going on a permanent record, I will not say that. This is just the basics, and I wish everybody would just develop their own preference in how they want to do a whiskey tasting, because we are as different as we are many. So one thing will work better for one individual and then worse for another.
Because I want a written disclaimer. You're going circles here.
It's in a video. anyways. So there's 3 things I usually tell the guests that come to this tour. There's the observation, the nosing, and the tasting. So first, these are perfect dram glasses. Originally,
what do you call it?
Perfect dram. Competition glasses in many whiskey competitions.
Okay.
And
perfect ram.
Perfect dram.
Dram.
Yeah, dram.
Perfect dram.
Perfect
people.
Dram. Yes.
Keep
yes,
up,
people. Keep up with us. So what you want to do is you want to get it a little bit to the edges of the glass, and you want to check out the glare on the inside of the glass. Now, the glare is falling down into lines and these lines are known as legs, and they do differ between whiskies. It's mostly an indication of whiskey thickness or oil quantity. In our case, with all the oils from the barley, Flóki has thick legs. So it's just a thing to look at, you know? And it's a part of many openings in whiskey tastings and all that, and people do this. So just an explanation why also people do that. So you do this, and you know, a lot of you will just say maybe, looks like whiskey.
Yes.
So, but
that's something that I would say.
Yeah, I'm just saying it, so you know why. The next thing is the nosing part, and you don't want to let anybody catch you doing this. It's always up close and personal with the whiskey.
Well, Hilda would say, my wife, she would say that's disgusting to put your nose into food and drink.
Into your glass full of spirits, sanitary.
Yeah.
Well, all right then.
Well, it's not for sharing, at least.
Well, if it's your own glass, yeah. Well, all right. So you can do it like this. It's also a good opportunity to check out the room. You know, check it out. You can do it half and half, like so. Any way you like. Do it 1 or 3 times or 20 times. You know, whatever floats your boat. It's different between everybody. Remember that. And then.
So, but are you really, are you really trying to, smell what kind of flavors or tones are in there?
There are high tones, medium tones, and low tones. You know, some people say you can get the high tones here, putting it on the chin. The low tones here, the medium tones.
What?
Some people do
Lower
this.
Tones here?
Some people do this, and then smell here. I mean, there are tons of ways. I told you.
So it's like a perfume. You put in here.
Well, with these spirits, definitely there's strong aroma that you do want to get into and discuss, and that's the reason why this whole world exists. So yeah, any type you want to. I'm not get technical with high lows and mids here, so I'm just putting it into 3. And the final step, of course, is just tasting. And which is a joke. I always say, just do what you like. I recommend with new whiskies, 3, 4, 5 seconds. That's what I do with new whiskies, trying to be professional. I've seen people using it like a mouthwash for half a minute. If that is your thing, do it. I've seen people shoot it. Don't recommend that. I mean, come on, you are enjoying a new spirit here. You want to get a little bit.
That's the Icelandic style, at least before, like
well, yeah, when
10,
we had
10 years ago or something like that.
When we had that types of
Jack and
yeah.
stuff.
So, skål.
Skål.
And that's also a thing you guys have to learn. Skål. If you're going to visit Iceland, one word needs to be rock solid. That's the only word, right? Skål.
That's I think most of my followers know that word. I've used it a couple of times.
Oh yeah,
okay. But skål. Some jokers like to call it to the skulls of your enemies.
Yeah.
But that's well, it's a questionable story. But
I thought it was because Islanders or Vikings in the old times drank from the skulls of their enemies. What did I say? Yes, of course. That's what we say.
Well, it's a must. It's a much. It's much more fun story than to tell that skål is actually in Iceland
it's
like
the
a bowl.
same word for bowl.
So you have bowl or glass basically, and you drink and you say bowl, you say glass, or to the skulls of your enemies.
Yeah.
Which one do you prefer?
Yeah.
To the skulls of your enemies.
Which one? So, giving you yet another glass on our road to the sheepdog smoke. One more first before we get there. This is a particularly fun one that I like to talk about because it's beer barrel finish. So that's not
beer barrel.
Yes, beer barrel. So it's not a really common thing in the whiskey business to not as much as the other one like sherry, but a beer barrel finish. This is the case where we like work closely with one of the breweries in Iceland.
So like Borg Brewery or?
Or Brukus, yeah, sure.
Of course.
Or any other of all of those. We get our used whiskey barrel when we're done making single malt in it. We loan it to them, and they put their. It's most often a stout.
Stout, yeah.
stouts or seasonal Christmas stout or something like that. And they will put their stout on the barrel and have a whiskey cask finish on their stout, barrel aged stout, which does a lot to it. And then when the bottle from the barrel, we get the barrel back and put our single malt on it again. Because then the barrel is infused with stout. So many licorice and those wonderful elements those breweries have been making these perfect ingredients, and that's infused into the barrel, so we get our stout or beer barrel finish of our Flóki. Really mellows out a lot of, does a lot of licorice,
chocolate.
licorice
one of my favorite things beers is actually imperial stout or stouts or porters and stuff like that. So I'm amazed. So this is like a recycled, thrice recycled. So you
say recycled.
Well, recycled barrels. You're using the barrels for the.
It has experience. Let's say that.
Experience, okay. But it's beautiful word today, right? Recycle. You're using the same things again and again, and you're making use of it. And as you said, you're trying to get different tones. Start with whiskey, and then for the beer, for the imperial stout, again for a barrel. Finish.
Julie. That's what people are saying.
Saber, Julie, Scout. So
maybe everybody's just
I actually like this one best of the three that you had, the cherry cask, the birch cask, and this is my favorite so far. I'm not sure. I think it's just a hint of I'm a crazy liquor lover.
Well, every other which is weird. What is that? Are we force-fed licorice as kids?
A lot of sugar. So this is the first group. This is kind of local sugar. Norway, Denmark.
With the licorice notes, really cool.
Yeah.
So we are well on with the tasting. We should try it because this is kind of cool to the line because when you don't want to smoke whiskey, you really blend with it because it really cuts up your taste buds.
So beer barrel finish. Birch finish. And
This
cask finish. A little bit of a different tone. So yes.
special classification. Look at these moms. Are you ready for this one?
Yes, I'm always ready for brennivín. Except I don't. Sorry that I'm taking a taxi back home.
Here you go. So, of course, even though there's still tasting, that's good. So,
Smoother brennivín. The original one of the States.
the original one, that is.
From the it's kind of like a
buy it from France or Spain, a tank or spirit, and then put it in a bottle and with Icelandic ingredients. This is still the core spirit. Where does that come from?
There's a difference, of course.
But this is weird. I don't want to get into.
You started. But,
well, they have tours of Icelandic ingredients.
There was a tour, but it was mostly like a beer tour. So we
I went into that.
yeah, it was fun. It was like a
There are tons of genuine breweries in Iceland. I'm just talking about strong spirits, by the way.
yeah.
Disclaimer again. Do I have to document this?
So the original Icelandic alcohol is a small distilled schnapps made from a native Icelandic botanicals, cow seeds, rhubarb, sweet, calico root, birch leaves, thyme, pale Icelandic moss.
Okay.
Icelandic moss, really?
Yes. So this is funny because usually I have people, but this book. I mean, there's a lot of yes. What was the one you asked about? We talked about
Icelandic
Icelandic moss.
thing.
Yeah, it's a lot of people think it's like moss, which is protected coating.
Well, I'll usually